Let's ask a question here. Can Labour win an election?
General election, the next
Yeah,
general.
yeah.
Well,
Or an election going forward. I mean,
well,
I just don't think it's. I mean, the thing is, when you talk to Jeremy Corbyn supporters, it's like that when you say, "Look, there isn't any electability," their retort is, "Well, we don't know because Jeremy Corbyn's never been tested in a general election," which is fair enough, and nobody else in the Labour Party is electable either, which again I've got some sympathy with. However, I just don't see how Jeremy Corbyn can appeal to enough centre voters and even sort of socially progressive conservatives on all kinds of issues, not just the economy, but you're talking about Trident. And then, you look at also, for rightly or wrongly, and I think it is wrongly, that the way that the mainstream media is on side in terms of attacking him constantly. You know what I mean? I think there is a sort of problem there that he can't, it's very difficult for him to overcome. But my problem is that as a sort of somebody who is in the social democratic position, really, which is much more softly left, if you could argue. There are no ideas coming from that area either, right? So it's interesting that you talked about there the idea of the fracturing of politics. Really, in the UK, the effect of that is that it looks like we're going to get Tories for the next 10 years.
Yeah. And then speaking of the Tories, I mean, they're just doing what they want to do right now.
Well, that's exactly the point. I mean, it's a very, very important thing to have a strong opposition group in this system, and the opposition party system is a very important role. I mean, to answer your question, Dennis, I would like to differentiate between general elections and, say, assembly elections and other elections, like for mayoral election. I mean, there is talk, for example, of Welsh Labour splitting off from Labour. Okay, so Welsh Labour could and will win the next assembly election.
Although I mean, what is it? You got to put. Someone said if you put a red rosette on the back of a mule and stand it in a constituency, it'll win. I mean, I'm beginning to think.
The only possibility I see is if they come up with some kind of. I mean, I can't see it because I just can't see Jeremy Corbyn and his team being organised enough with the other parties. But some kind of grand coalition with the Greens, with the SNP, essentially, and where they all say we're not going to put somebody in. We're gonna in each constituency, we're gonna encourage people to vote for this one group against the Tories, and then we're gonna have kind of like a coalition by default. You know what I mean? Because we can't with the two-party system. This is the thing we really need. It's proportional representation.
Right, Darry, but I just can't see him.
I can't see it either.
I mean, I agree with you totally. I mean, I don't think with Corbyn as leader, they can win a general election in the next in 2020 because they need into this system, whether you like it or not, they need to reach out to Basingstoke Man and stuff, and he never will.
Yeah,
and Labour never will with him as leader.
And the thing is, I think that the kind of landscape of political parties since Brexit. I mean, I think the UKIP are just going to go down the Swanee now. I hate Farage, but he was the kind of coherent figure around UKIP in which they could just use him as the focus. And I think that the votes which may have gone from the Tories to UKIP will just go back to the Tories now. May is in charge, and if you look at the cabinet, it's a very right-wing cabinet. There's a great article, I can't remember where it was now, it talked about how actually this has been a sort of right-wing coup of the Conservative Party, who never liked Cameron, and now they've got what they want. The right-wingers are in charge of the Conservative Party, and I think that the possibilities with the boundary changes and stuff like that have almost made it impossible on a kind of mathematical, but also on a social level for Labour to get elected. I mean, in a way, I hope I'm wrong, but I just cannot see it.